Superheroes and animation go together like, well, Batman and Robin. Surely the finest example of cartoon capers is the 1990s incarnation of Batman the Animated Series. With Kevin Conroy providing the definitive voice of the Caped Crusader and Mark Hamill as the Joker, this was pretty much every Bat fan's dream come true. It was filled with gritty, grown-up storylines and balanced with a careful animation style that showed real love for the source material. It takes a great deal for a cartoon to appease fans both young and old, but Batman the Animated Series utterly nailed it. And today I'm going to list some of the best tales told in the runtime, as not only a good starting point for those who've never tuned in, but for those like me who love this series. With this in mind, I'm Jules for WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 best Batman the Animated Series episodes. Number 10. Robin's Reckoning, Parts 1 and 2. Despite what you might think when first viewing the animation, the show isn't all about smashing up baddies. It's actually a character study in what makes Bruce Wayne tick, and one of the most impactful figures in his life is Dick Grayson. Robin's Reckoning is a fantastic example of that now staple of the superhero genre, the origin story. And this rich, multi-layered plot delves into how Robin came to be. Giving this highly emotional story a double episode gives the subject matter the treatment it deserves, and allowed the writers the space and time to explore Dick and Bruce's complicated and often combative relationship in full. It's very dark in places, as you'd expect, but takes extra time to focus on the mob within Gotham and their very seedy antics. It kind of acts as a shot of realism in a world full of costumed heroes and villains. Number 9. The Clock King. The Clock King is one of DC's stranger villains. Sporting no superpowers or special abilities, his real villainy lies in his obsessive desire for timekeeping, which I know still doesn't sound scary, but trust me, you should be afraid. So why is this episode featured here? Well, for two reasons. Firstly, it's a fine example of the series reaching out to the very corners of Batman's villain's vault. Secondly, it's just a really great episode in its own right. The Clock King's story is full of tragedy and unfairness, to the point where you would arguably understand his desire for revenge, although I would say that doesn't excuse him from causing rail crashes. It's tense in all the right places and acts as a brilliant little tale of how society failing its civilians can cause them to snap. Number 8. Harley and Ivy. It's Thelma and Louise meets Bonnie and Clyde with two of the most popular female villains in Batman's gallery. What's not to love? It's a comic story that, as per usual, is tinged with sadness, what with Harley's abuse at the hands of the Joker being the catalyst for her to leave and team up with the vine-loving vixen Ivy. Of course, things don't end well for the pair, but it's a fantastic journey and one that balances action and comedy very well. This episode goes to show that simple stories, if done well, can be seen as a classic. Number 7. Birds of a Feather. Birds of a Feather is an offbeat tale which focuses on the Penguin. After getting his beak bent by the bats time and time again, Cobblepot attempts a reformation act and tries to return to high society. Turns out though that he's been left high and dry and all his friends have abandoned him. However, a chance phone call by a wealthy socialite could be his way back to the top, or at least it would be if it weren't a ruse by the woman to keep herself in the spotlight. It's a rather poignant jab at social standing and makes you feel quite sorry for the Penguin as he's laughed at and mocked by members of the elite he thinks he's part of. Emotionally rich storytelling at its finest. Number 6. The Man Who Killed Batman. This episode begins with the unthinkable, that Batman has been defeated. And which of his vast rogues gallery has claimed his life? The Joker? Two-Face? The Ten-Eyed Man? Surprisingly none of these, as it was actually Sid, the Squid, a bumbling mob goon who through sheer stupidity seems to have killed the world's greatest detective. As the episode progresses, the underworld doesn't know what to do with itself, with the Joker holding a fake funeral complete with kazoos and gangs of thugs attempting to beat up Sid. For a long while, it does actually appear that Batman is no more, but eventually he does step in, saves Sidney from another mob boss, and explains he was laying low in order to catch out the higher-ups of a drug ring. Sid is then sent to jail, but because of the rumor that he almost killed the Bat, is lauded as a hero and becomes the powerful figure he always wanted to be. Number 5. Beware the Grey Ghost. A lovely episode this, offering a deeper look into Bruce Wayne's past and how a show called The Grey Ghost shaped Batman's persona. During the course of the episode, Batman meets with the actor behind The Grey Ghost, and the pair form an immediate bond, with Batman showing his softer, more human side. The pair then set out to solve a crime which bears an uncanny resemblance to an episode of the show. Yet the real hook of the story isn't about the crime, but about the emotional bond between the actor and the Dark Knight. Wayne openly confesses on how much of an impact the Grey Ghost had on him as a child and how it formed his desire for justice. It gives a much deeper insight into the man under the cowl and humanizes him a great deal, something which other forms of Bat media often forget to do. Number 4. If you're so smart, why aren't you rich? This episode is ambitious, thrilling, and fun in equal measures, harking back in many respects to the spirit of the 60s television series with an over-the-top, scheming villain at its heart. Edward Nygma is furious with his boss, Daniel Mockridge, after having swindled him out of royalties for a computer game that he designed, Riddle of the Minotaur. Mockridge then makes the mistake of making fun of Nygma and the further error of firing him. Spin on 2 years later and Nygma is back, only this time he's wearing green. The rest of the episode plays out in one of the Riddler's intricate puzzles where Batman and Robin must make their way through a full-scale version of the computer game to try and save Mockridge from a grisly death. As you can imagine, it's jam-packed with action. There's even a lovely moment at the end where Batman nonchalantly talks about the Riddler's escape. He comments on Mockridge's cruelty and almost suggests that he deserves punishment for his treatment of Nygma. This, coupled with the image of Mockridge stricken with paranoia at the end, is almost a perfect revenge for the conundrum criminal. Number 3. P.O.V. Centering around an internal investigation, 3 police officers are being quizzed as to what happened in a failed sting. $2 million has gone missing, and the implication is that one of them, or more, is on the take. The way this story unfolds with new events being changed based on new information and images going against what the officers are saying creates a tense and thrilling situation. It doesn't pander to the audience either, keeping you guessing right up until the end and teaches you that not all of Batman's villains are on the wrong side of the law. Number 2. Heart of Ice. In Heart of Ice, we learn that not only does Victor Fries have one of the most gut-wrenching origin stories in Batman villain history, he's also one of Batman's most dangerous foes. Heart of Ice is recognized as one of the series' very best episodes, chiefly because it has a plot to die for, one that would even be used as the basis for later incarnations of Mr. Freeze in other media. Of the many villains for which the lines between good and evil are blurred, Freeze is surely the benchmark. Turning to a life of crime in order to find a cure for his dying wife, Heart of Ice poses questions to the audience of morality and wrongdoing, asking how far you would go to save your loved ones, and how you would react to others acting in this way. For us, we see Batman is moved by the villain, and acts as a reminder that the Dark Knight doesn't always see things in black or white, good or evil. And number 1, Almost Got Him. If you're looking for an episode that shows the ambition of this series, then Almost Got Him is surely its masterpiece. It's always fun to see supervillains casually interacting with each other, and the setup here is a friendly game of cards between the Joker, the Penguin, Poison Ivy, Two-Face, and Killer Croc, who all swap stories of how they almost beat the Batman, and exchange theories about who they think the man behind the mask might be. The concept allows for the action to flow at breakneck speed as each of the tales plays out on screen. There's a lot of humor too, my favorites being Killer Croc's short tale about how he threw a large rock at Batman, and the cutting exchange between Two-Face and Poison Ivy about how they used to date. Then just as you think the episode couldn't get any better, there's a late great plot twist and suddenly the scene goes from comical to tense and action-packed. It's easy to see why this episode is considered amongst fans to be the best this series had to offer. And that's our list. What other animated Bat tales would you recommend to others? Well, let us know about it in the comments section below. And then why not swing by whatculture.com for more news and articles like this every goddamn day. As always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon.